So the question is, what did the Buddha teach? And the simple answer in 2 words is dependent arising. So the purpose of studying Nagarjuna, going back to Nagarjuna's teaching in Sanskrit and English, is to deepen our understanding of pratītya-samutpada, which means dependent arising. At the same time, samutpada means more than just arising. The pad means flying or going, and ut means up. So utpada means flying up, arising in that sense. And the sam of samutpada adds a sense of integration. Sam means together. So literally samutpada means flying up together, arising together. And pratitya is absolutive form, so it means having done something, then something. And the verbal root is e, to go, prati-e. Prati suggests or includes the meaning of going back. So prati-e means to go back. Pratitya means having gone back. So having gone back, then going up together. And so what this primarily means in the Buddha's teaching is as an explanation of suffering. There are 2 extreme views of who's to blame, what's to blame for suffering. On one side, you've got the more left-wing view, which puts the blame for suffering on others, on society, on the oppressive patriarchy, on power relations, capitalistic power relations, always putting the blame on outside. And then the far right-wing view would be, it's your own damn fault. You know, you brought this suffering onto yourself. So those are the 2 extreme views. And in the middle way between those 2, see, both those 2 views rely on what is not empty, what is self-existing. So in the left-wing view, the thing that's to blame is out there. There are things out there, like the best example is the patriarchy, you see. People in their ignorance believe there is such a thing as the patriarchy, which is out to oppress everybody. So that is an example of what the Buddha called prapañca. And prapañca means spinning into existence what does not originally exist as a non-empty thing. So to use a Latin word, reification. Re means thing, and ification means making into a thing. The literal meaning of the word prapañca is thought to be from pancha, which means 5. So prapañca sort of means, if I make up a word, something like quintification, making it into 5 things. But to understand, I mean, we have to deepen our understanding of what prapañca means. That's the whole point of studying MMK. And I'm not going to do it in this brief introduction. But suffice to say that in the middle, there is no non-empty things. So on the left wing, you've got the non-empty thing, which is society or the oppressive patriarchy, or things out there which are to blame for my suffering. And on the right-wing view, you've got the individual. The individual is existing as a separately existing real thing. Whereas in the middle, the teaching is that what I conceive of as myself is an example of prapañca. That without the oxygen that trees are producing, without the gravity against which I'm going up, without the food I ate for breakfast, then I don't exist. So in the middle way, the teaching is nishprapancha, no prapancha, no spinning things into self-existence. And equally, in the middle way, the teaching is emptiness, so that what we conceive of as things are actually empty. And very relevant to this is Carlo Rovelli's metaphor of stones and kisses. So the physicist Carlo Rovelli has found that at the most minute level of investigation, there are no things like stones. There are only empty happenings like kisses. And this is perfectly consistent with the Buddha's teaching of dependent arising, emptiness, and the middle way. So all this is expressed very succinctly in the two dedicatory verses with which Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamaka Karika begins. So Mula and Karika means root verses, and Madhyamaka means middle. So Mula Madhyamaka Karika, root middle verses, the middle in root verses. So MMK Mula Madhyamaka Karika is all about the teaching of the middle, which is not about non-empty things on the left, like the patriarchy, and it's not about non-empty things on the right, like the individual and the individual responsibility. It's about empty things in the middle, which are dependently arisen. And in the first example, we have the dependent arising of suffering, which goes back to. So it goes back via pratyaya. Now pratyaya means, it's usually translated as conditions, but better understood as causality, because it's what things go back to. It's again from the verbal root prati, to go back. So pratyaya means what things go back to. Sometimes in Sanskrit it means belief, because again belief is what you go back to. So what does suffering go back to? It doesn't go back, the Buddha said, to some non-empty cause. If we say the cause is ignorance, and so if we destroy ignorance, we destroy suffering, that's a misunderstanding, because that's prapañca of ignorance. That's making ignorance into a thing. So what the Buddha said is, no, suffering goes back to ignorance, but ignorance goes back to everything else in a 12-fold chain of causation. So we can say it starts with ignorance, but then it also goes back to attachment. It goes back to a sense of psychophysical unity, and that's based on divided consciousness. So suffering is not arisen from a cause as a self-existing thing, but suffering is dependently arisen. In the middle way, suffering is dependently arisen from a chain of causation. So this is expressed very succinctly, much more succinctly than I'm now expressing it, in the two dedicatory verses with which MMK begins. And so we're going to listen now to a recitation by Professor Kashinath Nyaupanē, courtesy of bodhisvara.com. Then I'm going to go through the dedicatory verses word by word, so we'll understand them in Sanskrit and in English.
a-nirodham, an-utpādam, an-ucchedam, a-śāśvatam, an-ekārtham, an-ānārtham, an-āgamam, a-nirgamam. Yaha pratītya-samutpādaṁ, prapañcopaśamaṁ śivam, deśayām saṁbuddhas, tam vande vadatāṁ varam.
So I'll go through it from Sanskrit in first and then in English. So in Sanskrit, the verbal root vande means to praise or to do homage to. By the way, you'll find that the Sanskrit text and the English translation in the description underneath this video on YouTube. So at the end of the two verses we have vande, first person singular of vand, I praise, I do homage, to him, tam. So tam vande, I do homage to him. And then in Sanskrit, to speak, verbal root to speak is vad, and the present participle speaking is vadat, and the genitive plural of vadat is vadatāṁ. So vadatāṁ means of speakings, or in this case it means of speakers. And vara in Sanskrit means the choicest, like the choicest food. You'd say varana. So vara means choicest or the best. So vadatāṁ, varam, the best of speakers. And if we go in terms of the verb is vand, so vande, I praise, and then tam and varam are accusative, so they're the objects, so they're the accusative case, so ending in M, tam varam. I praise him, the best, vadatāṁ, genitive plural, of speakers. So that's the conclusion of the verse. Tam vande vadatāṁ varam. I praise him, the best of speakers. Tam, him, vande, I praise, vadatāṁ, of speakers, varam, the best. Tam vande vadatāṁ varam. Then we have in the beginning of the second verse, yaha. That means that's nominative singular masculine. So that's the subject, and it means who, he who, and also nominative singular masculine at the end of the third pada is saṁbuddhas. So the aha ending is nominative masculine singular. Ya pratītya-samutpādaṁ prapañcopaśamaṁ śivam deśayām saṁbuddhas. So saṁbuddhas is saṁbuddhas, but before tam it goes to saṁbuddhas, just for euphony. So ya pratītya-samutpādaṁ prapañcopaśamaṁ śivam deśayām saṁbuddhas tam vande vadatāṁ varam. So saṁbuddhas means fully awakened. Bud, verbal root bud, means to awake. Buddha means awakened, so the awakened one. And sam, as in samutpada, means together, fully integrated. So saṁbuddhas means the fully awakened one, the fully awakened Buddha. Ya saṁbuddhas, who, he who, the fully awakened Buddha. There's the subject, nominative masculine singular subject. And the verb is deśayām asa. So the verb to be in Sanskrit, one of the verbs to be is as, and the perfect of that is asa. And deśayām asa means he taught. So deśayām is from the verbal root dish, which means to point, to indicate, to teach. And deśayām asa is the periphrastic perfect. It means he taught. So subject, ya saṁbuddhas, he who was fully awakened. Verb, deśayām asa, he taught. And now here's the all-important accusative object. Pratītya-samutpādaṁ. That's what the Buddha taught, dependent arising. or more literally, something like going up together by going back. And we've got two other objects, pratītya-samutpādaṁ, prapañcopaśamaṁ, śivam. And I understand those, following Ant MacDonald, to be three nouns in apposition. Okay, so they're three nouns meaning the same thing. Like you would say David Beckham, footballer, fashion icon, and charity worker. So that three words for the same thing. So prapañcopaśamaṁ, the verbal roots there are panch, which means so prapañc, if you look in the dictionary, means something like to proliferate. Prapañca is often translated as something like conceptual proliferation or conceptual elaboration. But in the context of emptiness, it means making what is originally empty, making it into a non-empty thing. So I translate it as spinning into self-existence, or in short, spin. So prapañca I translate as spin. And upāśama, the verbal root is sham, which means to run out, to wear out, to become exhausted. So upāśamam means cessation, wearing out, running out of energy. Prapañcopaśamaṁ, the cessation of spin. So pratītya-samutpādaṁ, dependent arising, that teaching is the ending of reification, stopping spinning things into self-existence. And those two, that is dependent arising and the cessation of spin, are śiva, happiness. So śiva, as in the name of the god Shiva, it means the auspicious one. So śiva means auspicious. As a noun, it means welfare, happiness. And here it's synonymous with nirvana. So nirvana means letting go of all attachments. So śivam means that kind of happiness. So the three objects, all in the accusative case, pratītya-samutpādaṁ, dependent arising, prapañcopaśamaṁ, the cessation of spin, and śivam, happiness. So we take the whole of the second verse. pratītya-samutpādaṁ, prapañcopaśamaṁ, śivam. Deśayām saṁbuddhas, tam vande vadatāṁ, varam. Yaha, he who, pratītya-samutpādaṁ, dependent arising, prapañcopaśamaṁ, the cessation of spin, śivam, happiness. Deśayām he taught, saṁbuddhas, the fully awakened Buddha, tam, him, vande, I praise, vadatāṁ, of speakers, varam, the best. So if I go from the English, he, the fully awakened Buddha, yaha saṁbuddhā, taught, deśayām dependent arising, pratītya-samutpādaṁ, the cessation of spin, prapañcopaśamaṁ, happiness, śivam. I praise, vande, him, tam, the best, varam, of speakers, vadatāṁ. pratītya-samutpādaṁ, prapañcopaśamaṁ, śivam. Deśayām saṁbuddhas, tam vande vadatāṁ, varam. He, the fully awakened Buddha, taught, dependent arising, the cessation of spin, happiness. I praise him, the best of speakers. Okay, and now if we go back to the first verse, we have 8 negations, 8 words, they're all negations, and they're all in the accusative, agreeing with pratītya-samutpādaṁ. So pratītya-samutpādaṁ is accusative, singular, masculine. And so the 8 negations, all ending in am, they're all agreeing with pratītya-samutpādaṁ. So the description, they're negative descriptions of what the Buddha taught. So here goes. Hope you can hear me above the sound of the rain dropping on the plastic roof. A-nirodham, an-utpādam. So there are 8 elements in 4 pairs. So nirodha means stopping, obstructing, cessation, destruction, death. So, and utpada, as in samutpada, means going up, arising, or being born. So a-nirodham, an-utpādam describes the teaching of dependent arising as not destruction, not origination, not death, not birth. Or in other words, beyond death, beyond birth. And the reason dependent arising is beyond death and beyond birth is because in the teaching of dependent arising, let's say an individual human being is not born, because what we think of as an individual human being is empty of self-existence. So we conceive that an individual separate thing is born and that a separate thing dies, but ultimately that the teaching of dependent arising says no, there is no birth or death of self-existing things, of non-empty things, because everything is empty. Similarly, an-ucchedam, a-śāśvatam. Uccedam is from the verbal root chid, which means to cut. So an-ucchedam means not cut off or beyond annihilation. And conversely, a-śāśvatam means beyond eternity. So it's, in other words, beyond discontinuity, beyond continuity. And this again, it relates to the fact that continuity and discontinuity rely on something being continuous or discontinuous. So in chapter 15 of MMK, Nagarjuna quotes the sutta in which the Buddha teaches the middle way to Katyayana. And in that sutta the Buddha says, it exists is śāśvata drishti. Drishti means view, so śāśvata drishti means the view of eternity, the eternity view, the view of continuity. And so that, in that view, if there is a self-existing thing, that self-existing thing is not susceptible to change. A non-empty thing exists as a thing unto itself, so it's not susceptible to change, therefore it's eternal, it continues forever. So that's śāśvata drishti, which is the view that something exists. And the opposite view to that is ucceda drishti, the view of annihilation, the view of cutting off, which says that things don't exist. So an example of a thing, for example, is a cause of suffering. Again, if the male patriarchy exists as a cause of suffering, then it can never not exist, because if it's a self-existing, non-empty thing, it's there for keeps. On the other hand, it's not true to say, if we say that things don't exist, things are absent, that also is off the middle way. That's uccheda drishti, the view of annihilation. So if we say that there is no cause of suffering, that's not true. Suffering is empty. That doesn't mean it's not real. And the causes of suffering, like ignorance, psychophysical unity, divided consciousness, attachment, suffering is dependently arisen from them, but they are not non-empty, self-existent things. So if we want to sort of target ignorance and have a war on ignorance, like American neocons like to have a war on drugs or a war on terror, that itself is ignorance. It's not ignorance as a non-empty thing, it's ignorance as part of a chain of causes of the dependent arising of suffering. So, a-nirodham, an-utpādam, an-ucchedam, a-śāśvatam. This is describing the teaching of dependent arising, or the practice of dependent arising, as beyond death, beyond birth, beyond annihilation, beyond eternity. an-ekārtham, an-ānārtham. Eka means one, and artha has many meanings, including value and object and goal and meaning. So here, a-nānārtham a-nānārtham can suggest having one goal. But here it's better understood in terms of one meaning. So a-nānārtham, identity, an-ekārtham, beyond identity, and nānā means variously. So an-ānārtham, difference, an-ānārtham, beyond difference. And one example of why dependent arising is beyond identity and beyond difference, if we go back to the problem of the self, the self I am now compared with the self I was 20 years ago, I'm obviously not the same self as I was 20 years ago. My hair is greyer. Hopefully my understanding has deepened. On the other hand, my memory's got worse. So I'm not identical with who I was 20 years ago. But when I look back on bad things I've done in the past, I can't say that, I can't deny responsibility for those. I can't say, no, that was a different person. You know, that wasn't me that made those mistakes. So in that sense, dependent arising, the teaching of dependent arising is negation of identity and negation of difference, beyond identity, beyond difference. And finally, an-āgamam, an-nirgamam. Those words are from the verbal root gam, which means to go or to come. Agam means going this way, so coming. And an-āgam, an-āgamam, beyond coming. an-nirgamam, beyond going away. And so those two negations have to do with time, because with our reifying mind, we conceive of the future as something which is coming, and we conceive of the past, conversely, as something which is receding into the distance, going away. So in MMK you'll find that Nagarjuna negates the past and the future, but not only that, he negates the present as a self-existing thing. So when people talk about the power of now, or being mindful of the now, that, ironically enough, is also prapañca, because it's like the joke in Kung Fu Panda about the present being a gift. That's also prapañca, because it's turning the present, it's turning what's originally empty into a non-empty thing that people would like to put on a pedestal and be grateful for the present moment. That's also prapañca. So how does one express in a way that's free of prapañca what's actually going on now? And it's okay to speak in those terms, because in those terms now is being used as an adverb. That's how Nagarjuna seems to get round it. So in the second chapter of MMK, he uses it very skillfully. He uses the word vidyamana, which is passive present participle. Gamyamana. Vidyamana means now being found. But the word I was thinking of, gamyamana, which is the same as in an-āgamam, an-nirgamam, the verbal root gam. The passive present participle of it is gamyamana. And so gam means to go, but it also means to visit. And if you translate gamyamana as the now being visited, the present participle passive, the now being visited, that's a very handy phrase for describing reality. Of course, if you say reality, that sounds like you're turning reality into a thing. So the now being visited could mean me, who's now being visited by what I'm experiencing, or it could describe what I'm experiencing as being now being visited by me. So it's a very skillful way of pointing to something without falling into the trap of prapañca. But having said that, you can easily just speak of the now being visited. So in fact, there really isn't any way of using language that really provides an antidote to prapañca. But when we get to chapter 2 and study the use of gamyamanam, the now being visited, we're struck by the direction Nagarjuna is wanting to go in, put it that way. So gamyamana, the now being visited, is beyond coming, an-āgamam, an-nirgamam, beyond going away. a-nirodham, an-utpādam, an-ucchedam, a-śāśvatam, an-ekārtham, an-ānārtham, an-āgamam, an-nirgamam. So again, these are 8 negations describing the teaching of pratītya-samutpada. Beyond death, beyond birth, beyond annihilation, beyond eternity, beyond identity, beyond difference, beyond coming, beyond going away. a-nirodham, beyond death, beyond cessation. an-utpādam, beyond birth, beyond arising. an-ucchedam, beyond annihilation, beyond being cut off, beyond discontinuity. a-śāśvatam, beyond eternity, beyond continuity, beyond constancy. an-ekārtham, beyond identity. an-ānārtham, beyond difference. an-āgamam, beyond coming. an-nirgamam, beyond going away.
a-nirodham, an-utpādam, an-ucchedam, a-śāśvatam, an-ekārtham, an-ānārtham, an-āgamam, an-nirgamam. Yaha pratītya-samutpādaṁ, prapañcopaśamaṁ śivam, deśayām saṁbuddhas, tam vande vadatāṁ varam.
Tam vande vadatāṁ varam. I praise him, the best of speakers.